Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shells, desolators, artists, peasants, vassals, gun herders, oil drillers. I'm a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about the fact that China is going to make a huge economic presence in Afghanistan. And, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the irony that after a decade of war with the United States military there for the last 10 years, now we have Chinese companies going in there to reap the bounties. And, of course, the United States isn't left out. We still have the CIA-operated poppy fields to make sure billions are made worldwide exporting heroin. But these are legitimate businesses I'm talking about. And China just recently signed more contracts for minerals. But I'm going to get to that in a minute, because the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the Chinese have been the first to go into China and develop oil. So they have a 25-year contract. They paid $7 billion. And there's already first oil extraction going on in Afghanistan, first in its history. And Chinese started pumping oil last October. And they assume that there's about 87 million barrels of oil in Amu Darya Basin. And so that's not a staggering amount of oil. But China also signed a contract for the Tajik Basin, and that's supposed to hold 1.9 billion barrels of oil. And I have to hand it to the Chinese. They are not necessarily exploiting Afghanistan in this situation. The Chinese government will pay a 15% royalty on oil, a 20% corporate tax, and 50 to 70% of all the profit will actually go to the Afghan government. Unfortunately, the Afghan government is very corrupt, so the money is going to end up in the wrong hands. But it's a very nice contract for the Chinese, and I know they're in for the long haul. And chances are there's probably knowledge that there's a lot more oil to be had in Afghanistan. And Chinese investment in general is for the long haul. They're going to do the same thing in Afghanistan that they've been doing in African countries, and really investing in the infrastructure. And there's also long-term plans by the Chinese, just like in Africa, to bring hydropower projects, agricultural projects, and construction projects to Afghanistan, which is what they really need. And it's most unfortunate that the arrangement works out that the Chinese get to come in and build the infrastructure in the way that we would like to believe the United States would be doing worldwide. We gave it a stab, but unfortunately, our military contracts out to corrupt, fraudulent companies who don't really do the job. So most unfortunate. Hope the Chinese have better luck. So anyway, there's also $2.4 trillion, or $2 to $4 trillion in minerals in China. And China paid $3 billion in 2007 for a 30-year contract. And this is one deal where it looks like China may have got to screw the Afghans out of a little cash, because they expect to extract $100 billion worth of copper. And we know how much the Chinese love copper. So they're going to extract $100 billion worth of copper in the next 30 years or more. And they only paid $3 billion for it. So hats off to them. Good deal for them. But last September, China's top security official visited Kabul, and that was the first visit by the Chinese government figure in Afghanistan in 46 years. So this is a very big deal for China. It's a very big deal for Afghanistan. And the irony that they're going to end up having a very great relationship after America's blood and treasure has been spilled in Afghanistan for a decade. And the ultimate irony is that the Chinese will also be training 300 Afghan police. So we've had a lot of difficulties, of course, with Americans and hired mercenaries training Afghan police. It will be interesting to see how effectively the Chinese train 300 Afghan police. And then the other interesting thing, too, is it's not only the Chinese. There's a Central Asian conglomerate, including the Russians, that is moving into Afghanistan. And it's kind of funny how we, the United States, with our military, create the stability which is really great for them, and it also we help stabilize the country, which is great for them on their borders. And I think ultimately they like having us do their dirty work. And to me, that's the bottom line. A big part of this whole story is that this is the real world of politics. This is the real world of geopolitics, and it's lots more complex than a lot of people think. So to paint the world as black and white, and the Russians and Chinese are the bad guys, and we're going to go to war with them, I might be one of the few who thinks that that's probably not going to happen. I don't think they would militarily intervene in Syria, and I'm curious as to what might happen depending on what happens with Iran. I think if Syria falls, Iran will be a little more isolated, and we might be able to get a better deal. But I think the idea of a showdown between Russia and China, maybe I'm naive, but I just don't see it. We have these symbiotic relationships, and one of them is the fact that the Chinese and the Russians know that America will go around the world and take care of these unstable areas, and that makes a lot of these regions safer for them as well, and ends up saving them money and actually creates more opportunities for investment. And Afghanistan is a perfect example of that. They're going to cash in on Afghanistan after America went in and did the dirty work. So not only that, but last summer China signed a strategic partnership with Afghanistan, and they apparently are working to broker a peace agreement with the Taliban through Pakistan, because of course China and Pakistan are very close, and they could probably do it. But and then there's also talk in the long run of a direct highway from China through Afghanistan, and possibly a high-speed rail line as well, because they share a 48-mile border. And the only thing that's complicated, of course, and one reason why they don't have much time, theoretically, is if the NATO forces in the United States do withdraw in 2014, there's a very good chance that this very corrupt government in this very unstable country would become a failed state. And in fact, they are on the State Department's list of failed states over the next 2 years. So I think Russia and China want to go in there and help stabilize things. And of course, the bottom line is that the U.S. presence will continue indefinitely. So any talk of a post-U.S. presence in Afghanistan after 2014 is a pipe dream. So anyway, we shall see if an economic infusion from Russia and China with American military security, perhaps Afghanistan can get on its feet in the next 2 years and not be a failed state. But they'll still have a corrupt government. That should mean something. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.